Hey everybody. I remembered when I spaced out in the last video what I was going to say, and now I realize why I spaced out and let it go because it needed a whole video to itself. Um, what I was going to point out in that discussion was about comfort zones. If you are serious about growth, you have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. Um, However, that also creates a paradox because it is easier to do this work and to heal when you are in your comfort zone. Like here, this is where I do a lot of the videos. It's kind of like my man cave. It's my oasis away from what else I do with my time. I spend a lot of time here. It is my safe space. It's where I go to meditate. I've had a lot of growth out here. A lot of growing moments occurred out here. Um, there's also a lot of memories of a time that's kind of hurting me right now. That happened here, and today was one of the hard days because it was Friday, and that's the day you know me and that person usually came together here and, got to interact and unload. And, we like to retreat to our safe places, but sometimes those safe places have um, memories attached to them that are not so safe. So, what do you do in that paradox? I'm going to teach you real quick something that I realized. Do not make a person your safe space. Do not make anything outside of yourself important for you to feel safe. And it is helpful. Sometimes we don't feel safe with ourselves, and we do need that outside inspiration. So, the flip side of that is you can take, say there's a specific person that makes you feel like a certain way, like every time you see that person, then you can make that feeling your safe space. Um, great example, coming up when you're younger, um, like a parental figure, like your mother or your father, they give that very um, loving feeling, if you're lucky, if you're blessed to have that kind of family unit. And again, that's a great example because, you know, it a paradox is when two conflicting things are true at the same time. Okay? Um and the truth is that somebody like that in your memory, you are going to carry the impact, the feeling that they have with you forever. However, you are not going to have that person forever. Um, for whatever reasons, different things happen. Sometimes it's a tragedy, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just life gets in the way. Sometimes in the path of following your purpose, it takes you away from those things. There's a number of reasons, and that's why you have to be. This is why I one of the things that I preach is to be intentional. Everything has a purpose. This is why you have to get close to that relationship with God, because God is very good at intricate plans. And God gives us sneak peeks, at what he's up to, through his word, through meditation, through exploring ourselves. Um, and it's really neat how it all, works together. But again, it doesn't work unless you work it. That was another thing I wanted to recommend, and I meant to get my books out for this, and I kind of slipped on it. But get yourself a copy of either the AA or NA handbook, because the 12 steps are fantastic in this journey. Like, one of those things that I've discovered is, there's a few things in this world that the only way to keep them is to give them away. And that is true love, faith, sobriety, and mental wellness. It actually amplifies what you are able to carry by sharing it with others. And that's what you want to do in this journey, is you want to build your capacity. For my own reasons in the past, I've had to go, spend time in the rooms. And that's another place that feels, like church to me, like home, because there everybody is trying to, again, if you're in the right one, and a lot of them are the right one, by the way, there's that openness. So if you're not ready yet to take the step to go to actual church, maybe start in the church basement. If that applies to you. Because again, don't invade somebody else's safe space just looking for your own. If it fits, go with it. But if not, don't force it. And something else I wanted to talk about along with safe spaces is you have to, I hear it said so many times that it's become cliche, and it's one of those things that I wish people would think more deeply about. I say it a lot, less projection, more reflection. Reflection is when you stop and examine yourself. Projection is when you push parts of yourself onto something else. And you can use it to your advantage, because again, that's how my actual empathy works. I explained before, with my, from my studies, I found it's my neurodivergent brain, is I like to find stories that I can associate with other people. And then again, I have the tells, the tics, and I can associate that with times that I felt the way that they're expressing they feel. Again, it can't just be the words, it has to be truth. One of the very dangerous survival tactics that we teach ourselves is to hide from the truth, and it's actually damning. It creates setbacks. And again, I'll go back to, I just said this in the last video, pastor was saying on Sunday at church, the truth will set you free. That is absolutely true. So seek truth. Like, that's one of the things that got me on this path of, seeking and speaking truth. Is that's a very real thing. The more authentic you are, the more truthful you are with both yourself and the world about who you are, the more free you feel. And another quick one, because I see we're getting to the 10-minute mark, and I try to keep these under 15. Another thing is, there's this video that I've seen, and I've shared it a few times on Facebook, and I love it. This guy is doing an interview, and somebody walks right by, and the guy's like, upset by the interruption. The other guy that he's talking to just says, he brings out that quote. I can't remember it verbatim, but basically it's, don't attribute to malice what can be explained by ignorance. And that falls back to what I say is you can't do better until you know better. And sometimes there's that projection. We put that projection on people, right? That they did something intentionally to hurt us. And sometimes that's not the case. It's that they weren't even, their ignorance is that they weren't aware of us. They literally are in their own world and they're not even paying attention. That doesn't excuse it. We shouldn't let shitty behavior slide in society. It's funny, all the shit that we let slide, and shitty behavior has not become one of them. And that just boggles my mind about the world that we live in right now. Again, people like me, I try to go, if I were in public and I was open about my faith, I can expect to get, depending on the setting, some kickback on that because of the way people view faith. But then when you have people go out there and acting a fool in public, everybody just kind of gives them their space and lets them do what they do. Make it make sense. We have to quit. We have to get out of this mindset of saying we want something and fighting to let it come into the world. Do you want it or not? You got to let it happen. You got to work towards it, and again, that's a part of what we're doing here. That's why this is important. And the last thing I wanted to do this here was a confession, and I debated about doing this. But again, I am authentic. I am who I say I am. And one of those secrets that I kind of kept from myself and I revealed to myself, I should reveal here. I see you. I know you're watching. And originally, I'll be honest with you. When I started these videos, it was just to connect with anybody and everybody. And that's still the truth, by the way. But I have had to, let a few people go on the way. Some relatives, some friends, some relationships. People that I have genuinely loved along the way and still love to this day. Again, grace, mercy, forgiveness, they're important. But also self-worth, self-respect. You can't let somebody disrespect the gift that God made you to be. You can't, let them dishonor you in that way, especially if you're just trying to be authentic. You can't accept that. So that's why some people you just have to love from a distance. But, just know that when I'm recording these, I'm thinking, of you, and I hope that someday, you can catch up to what all this is, and eventually we'll be on because you can only understand somebody to the depth that you know yourself. And someday, maybe, just maybe, we can revisit the old wounds that cause separation, and even if not repair and reconnect, maybe at least lay to rest and help each other move on. So that's one of the things that I think about when I do this. Again, sometimes that's, wish fulfillment. Sometimes it's, fantasy thinking, and that's fine. You cannot go completely delusional and live fully in a fantasy. But again, that's why escapism is effective, because you do have to do it from time to time. You need the distraction. You just have to be careful what you let those distractions be. If it doesn't help you, grow, glow, or flow, then it's a no. You know? Owen didn't know. No, I knew. But yeah, I mean, there's some levity there, and I'm trying to, again, that's this heart, that joy. No matter how bad I feel up here, I have to operate from what's in here. And that, again, is one of the hardest parts of this transformation, is that surrender of letting yourself get out of your own head and live through your heart. That's how you become something different. But the only thing that's going to help you repair to get there is, give it up to God, come to Jesus. I know, a lot of folks roll their eyes, but I don't know any other way. I really don't. That's all I can tell you. And if I like to think that my results speak for themselves when I sit here and I talk to you and I open up and, I share the secrets and the, hidden truths that I've discovered, or just some, share good advice or whatever. Man, I totally derailed that train of thought. This is what I get for waiting until late, just before bed to do these. I'm so tired, but that's when the inspiration hits. That's when I know, I've already been sitting here meditating for a while. I had my wind down period, and that's when it's better for my collective thoughts to come in. But anyway, I'm already a few minutes over time, so before I trail off and babble anymore, I think I gave a few good nuggets here. So as usual, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I'll see you in the next one.